The apartment. When I was really little, my grandfather used to tell me tall tales about how when he was a little boy, he had seen many ghosts. My dad always told me not to listen to these stories, or take them at least with a grain of salt, because Grandpa liked to tell stories, but it didn't mean that they were true. As a little kid, they still scared me, but as I started to get a little bit older, I understood what my dad meant, that my grandfather was probably just trying to entertain me. So I let him keep telling me the stories, and I played along. Well, over the last couple of years, I'm starting to think that maybe some of those stories weren't such tall tales after all. I think maybe he might have been telling the truth. 4 years ago, I suddenly found myself a widower at the age of 32. I was barely able to make ends meet, and I could barely feed myself and my 6-year-old son. At the time of my wife's death, I was also laid off from my job. It didn't feel like life could get much worse, to be honest with you. But I tried the best I could for my son. We had to move into a very tiny, very old one-bedroom apartment. My son and I shared a bed, and he had a very small living room area that he could play with his toys in. About 2 months into our stay, I started to notice things, just little things. Things that made me wonder if it was just an old apartment building doing weird things, or if I was going crazy. The faucet would run 20 minutes after I'd turned it off. A light would be on after I knew that I'd turned it off. The thermostat being turned down 1 minute to freezing level, and then the next I was sweating profusely. One morning, I was awoken to a creaking sound. I sat upright in bed, rubbed my eyes, and looked over to where I thought the source of the creaking was happening. What looked like the figure of a man slowly emerged from my closet and exited out my bedroom door. I stared after him and shook my head, thinking I had to be dreaming. So I laid back down and tried to close my eyes and forget what I'd just seen. Suddenly, my son, who had already been awake and playing with his toys in the living room, walked in and said, "Wait, you're still in here? You're still in bed?" I yawned and nodded. He looked frightened. "Then who just walked out of your room and went into the bathroom?" I flew out of bed and checked the bathroom. No one was there. I checked the hall closet. No one was there. I ran back in the bedroom, looked in the closet again, I don't even know why, and no one was there. Shortly after this incident, I swallowed my pride and moved us in with my mother until I got back on my feet. Funny thing is, My landlord oddly let me out of my lease really easily. He didn't fight me on it at all. Come to find out, he had a really hard time keeping people in that apartment. Apparently, the longest someone had stayed there was 4 months. So, I really think that there are things in this world that we cannot explain.